So, welcome to the build I was probably either most excited or second most excited to actually try out and see in the field of battle, and I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with it, but it does have some issues, and I want to touch on those, specifically, so you don't feel like you're being misled. But this is the Fist of Heaven's Paladin. So the build that we have right here is maxing out Fist of Heavens along with Holy Bolt, and then also maxing out your Holy Shock aura, so you get the maximum synergies on it. You tech down into Conviction, so you have at least minus 150 enemy res, which is the maximum that you get. Fanaticism for your Mercenary, and we'll talk about that one in just a little bit. You pick up Salvation. This is mostly if you're playing and you don't have max res already, you're in a group play, or you're more hardcore oriented, and you're helping out your team. Obviously, you want to pick up Vigor, especially if you don't have Teleport yet. And then you want to get down into Holy Shield as well. What is the purpose of this build? The purpose of this build is two very important things. Mass density clear in undead populated areas. The primary skill of this, Fist of Heavens, is going to shoot out Holy Bolts. Holy Bolts only deal damage to undead. So places that you would want to farm on this, where you'd be really effective, are the Mausoleum and Crypt in Act 1, Arcane Sanctuary, Stony Tomb, to a lesser degree, the False Tombs in the Canyon of the Magi, and then the best place, which would be the Ancient Tunnels. In Act 3, you're able to go...
damage of...
In Act 3, the brand new area level 85, which would be the Swampy Pit, which is just outside of the Flare Jungle Waypoint. And then Act 4, Chaos Sanctuary, and I'll go over some of the nuances there. And then anywhere else where you would want to be an Elite Sniper, which is the second purpose of this build. And I've got to say that the Fist of Heaven's Paladin most perfectly epitomizes what an Elite Sniper is. It is something that only kills the boss of a pack or the champion of a pack and then leaves everything else. Considering your Fist of Heavens is going to do lightning damage to a single target, and the Holy Bolts are not going to deal damage to anything that aren't an undead, you quite literally only kill the boss and then move on. So farming Eldritch, farming Shank, Pindle, obviously you'll absolutely annihilate. But what are the strengths of this build? For 2/3 of the Chaos Sanctuary, this thing on lower plus skills, and I would say a much lower scale budget, is clearing at the same speed as something like Blessed Hammer. I think it actually, easily outshines Blessed Hammer against Lord Desace and Grand Vizier, the only problem being Infector of Souls. Infector of Souls is an undead, so you're only going to deal damage to him with the lightning portion of Fist of Heavens itself. So when you're doing seal popping, it's going to be best to have that Conviction aura up and only kill Infector of Souls and then let everything else explode once he is dead. The gameplay footage that I'm including is highlighting when we were piloting this build on only +9 skills with an Act 1 mercenary that was running Insight and a Hydra bow, and that's it. If you want to be farming the Chaos Sanctuary on this character, there are two really important concessions that you're going to have to make. One, I think that you need an Act 2 mercenary who's going to have Might Aura, and this is so that your Merc can increase your kill speed against Infector of Souls and actually bring down Diablo. The second concession is that for Diablo himself, you're going to want to have a lot of increased attack speed and Crushing Blow on your mercenary. Right now, Diablo is bugged in the PTR, so it's difficult to get a read on just how effective the damage on Fist of Heavens is, but even if you're being as nice as possible to it, Fist of Heavens, even with Conviction aura up, is just not going to kill Diablo quickly, and that's going to go for just about every Act boss. So I think ultimately, if you are dead set on farming something like the Chaos Sanctuary on this character, you're probably going to end up using an Infinity on the Mercenary as well, and you're actually going to swap over to Fanaticism aura. So you're going to continue to have Conviction aura up from Infinity. You're still going to be able to pump out your Fist of Heavens to add a little bit of DPS, but Fanaticism plus Might on a Merc with Infinity is absolutely going to shred Diablo, no problem, and is also going to drastically increase kill speed against Infector of Souls. The current version of the build that we have is only sitting on +15 skills, and we're missing 11 skills in total. Realistically, I would want to use a Hand of Blessed Light here, or a 3/3 10 FCR Scepter, so 3 to combat skills, 3 to Fist of Heavens, with any other staff mods, and then 10 FCR, with 2 facets if you're lucky. Obviously, a Griffins with a facet in it, or Magic Find, because realistically, you don't need to keep bumping up your elemental damage and reducing enemy lightning res. Conviction Aura is going to reduce any monster that isn't immune to lightning to -25 total res. So you're going to be doing 25% additional damage over true damage. Enigma is probably best in slot. You know, we can't get too far away from the Hammerdin meta here, but teleport charges on an amulet would work just as well on a more budget version of the build. Realistically, you would want this to be a 3 skill with magic find, because you really don't need the all res or the attributes, and you want to get as many skills as possible. We just don't have a Pally Shield build Spirit in, but you would put this to a 4-socket max all-res shield so that you don't need all-res down in your charms. 4 traps on the boots, we just don't have any. You will have to swap out at least 1 ring for a 10 FCR piece if you're not using Heart of the Oak, so just keep that in mind. But if you are using Heart of the Oak early game, and it's a fair, fine weapon to use in this slot anyways, using 2 skill rings is great, along with Arachnid Mesh. You actually don't need the Mage Fist as it's currently built. You can move these over to Chance Guards, but if you are going to move off from the Heart of the Oak, you may still need Mage Fist if you want to still have a skill ring on. We only have 2 skillers on this, and then not even a Paladin Torch. So we're missing an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skillers, or 4 if you want to have a Geeds, and we're missing 4 more skills from an Annie and a Hellfire Torch. So what's like my overall read? This thing destroys Stony Tombs, which is going to be one of the most farmed areas nowadays, considering it is now area level 85 and it's right outside of Luca Lane, as well as every monster in there is basically a wet paper towel, and if you actually have an Act 2 Merc, it will absolutely shred all of the beetles in there if they happen to spawn. Other places you can bring up Mausoleum and Crypt, those are a bit bigger and you're going to want to have teleport for them, but again, every monster in there is absolutely going to fall over, and once you're on the endgame version of the build with max plus skill, you're going to be able to farm there on player 7 with almost no interruption to your kill speed. Anything that Fist of Heavens wouldn't kill immediately, your Holy Bolt is doing an additional 2,000 damage on top of the Fist of Heavens Holy Bolt, and these will pierce and also heal your Mercenary. So he'll basically be unkillable if he happens to be tanking anything that manages to survive your Holy Bolt onslaught. So yeah, I'm very impressed with the build. There's one big problem with it, and that is, and I'll go ahead and highlight it here. If you have Fist of Heavens on your left click, and a monster is in range, and you left click anywhere, it will randomly cast the skill on the closest target in the direction of your cursor. Yes, this is something that has been a thing. My understanding was that they were going to fix the issues with the usability of the skill, but this is still happening, and it basically means you can't run around with Fist of Heavens on your left click. So you need to only swap over to it when you're actually going to be using the skill, and then swap back over to Holy Bolt, or if you're using quick hotkeys, having Holy Bolt on left click, and then using your hotkey to actually cast the Fist of Heavens. So that's a bit weird and clunky. I really hate it. Hopefully that gets fixed before the end of the PTR, but I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this inspires people to try something other than Hammerdin. Obviously, I'm not the only one thinking about this build, but I really am a huge proponent of it. I think it's going to serve us drastically well and be something actually cool to play. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know down in the comments if you think that this should be built differently, or if you found any other problems with it, or you really think you want to highlight something. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.